and welcome to the JIGME KELSANG podcast. My name is JIGME KELSANG. Each week you'll hear fascinating conversation as well as stories from many professionals from a broad range of fields and experiences they've had. On today's episode, I'm joined by President of Toronto FC and Toronto Argonauts, Bill Manning. Bill, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, JIGME.
Thank you so much for joining me. First and foremost, how are you?
Good.
That's good to hear. Despite I know times are busy for you and obviously getting right down to the gritty, nitty parts of the off season and making sure you're making the right moves. But before we talk about Toronto FC, I want to talk about I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Massapequa, New York.
Massapequa,
New York.
yeah.
All right. Can you talk to me about what you remember about those days?
Oh, sure. I grew up there. It's in the South Shore of Long Island, and it's was a populous town, probably 100,000 people between Massapequa, Massapequa Park, and North Massapequa. Had a really good childhood. Played a lot of sports. Still have a lot of friends from my youth growing up there in Massapequa. A lot of some famous people. Jerry Seinfeld is from Massapequa, the Baldwin brothers, who I knew, two of them personally. It's a really nice town, and my parents still live there. My brother and sister still live there, and had a real good, youth sports coming out of there, whether it was soccer or football or lacrosse. Massapequa was always one of the top teams.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you have the passion for sports early on. Can you talk about when you first picked up the love for the sport?
Soccer?
Yeah, soccer specifically.
Yeah, so I actually remember it quite well. My dad didn't play soccer. My dad played baseball growing up, and I remember our gym teacher. I was probably in kindergarten or first grade, came out with a flyer, and they were starting a new soccer club. And my dad signed me up, and I was a goalkeeper my first year. And my team actually wound up winning the championship. My very first year, I was a goalkeeper. And it was, I don't know, maybe we lost. I think we lost. Yeah, we lost in the championship, but we made it to the finals. And I remember it was devastating because I missed the last penalty shot. But the next season I wound up playing in the field and just, loved running around, and eventually became, a sport that I thrived in, and, wound up playing post high school and even into the pros a bit, and have made it a career. So, that it was very fortuitous that I was handed that flyer by our gym teacher, and our gym teacher, unbeknownst to me at the time, but eventually I learned he was the head soccer coach at Massapequa High School. So he had an interest in getting more kids involved. So that's how I got into the game.
Mm-hmm. And so you're just talking about your executive career choice, which was sports management. And obviously you went to University of Bridgeport, Bachelor of Science degree in 1987, a Master's of Business Administration in 1989, Hall of Fame inductee 2006, and Distinguished Alumni Award in 2016. When I go down that list of accolades that you hold right now, along with Toronto FC and Toronto Argonauts, what comes to mind?
Look, it's nice to be recognized. It's nice that other people recognize you and appreciate your accomplishments, whether you're an alumni or getting an executive award in the league and so on. And it just it actually helps, because what you want to do is you never want to let people down either. And so, what always drives me is continuing to be amongst the best in my field, and make people who have helped me along the way proud. And so it's really nice. It's nice to get those accolades.
Yeah, most definitely. And obviously, you've also had experiences with the Houston Rockets. Can you talk to me about why Houston Rockets? What was the goal about that job?
Yeah, so it actually occurred after I got my first job in Major League Soccer. I was managing a team in Tampa called the Tampa Bay Mutiny. Um, Back then, the league had owned the team. There was no owner, so I worked for Mark Abbott, who's currently our president and deputy commissioner of the league. And it was very difficult. We played in a big stadium, Raymond James Stadium, so really difficult to build a season ticket base playing in such a large stadium. We had a really poor year in 2001. And the league was going through a very, very difficult time. So the league wound up contracting the two Florida teams. And I did some work for the league over the next year, but was really considering my next option because I was under contract with MLS. And I really needed more business experience. I had a lot of soccer experience, and I had an opportunity to meet some folks at the Houston Rockets, and eventually a guy by the name of Tad Brown hired me. Tad is currently the president of Philadelphia 76ers and New Jersey Devils. Was a great guy, great boss. We got along real well. Someone that I consider a mentor and a friend. And, when I got to the Rockets, I was a director of development, basically sponsorships, trying to generate revenue for the Rockets. And we had the newly built Toyota Center, which actually got named while I was there, and was part of that, kind of team that was really helping to maximize revenue for that building. And it was an exciting time because Yao Ming was at the Rockets. And so we had not only a national profile, but an international profile. And I spent about a year and a half, I think I was there, maybe 2 years. And it was great. And, I really got a firsthand chance to be part of a big operation, working not only for the Houston Rockets, within the NBA. And, I had to, it was sink or swim, and I did real well, and then had an opportunity to get recruited to the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was my story with the Rockets. Is I wanted to get some more business experience, and my eventual goal was always to manage an entire operation, both the sporting side and the business side.
Hmm. And obviously, you just touched on Yao Ming. Did you ever get to meet Yao Ming himself?
Yeah, I actually have a picture of he and I together, which was pretty cool.
And in the time when you were with the Houston Rockets, what age would you say that was at?
So I was with the Rockets 2003, 2004.
Yeah, so I don't know what age that would be. But anyways, I think obviously going down your track record, you've also had so many experiences with so many different clubs. I mean, obviously you were with the Tampa Bay Mutiny, and then you went to Real Salt Lake, and then Rio Tinto Stadium, and then obviously when you're with the Real Salt Lake, the season tickets and sponsorships tripled during your tenure. What does that say about yourself and the way you conduct yourself every day?
Look, we had a really good team of people at Real Salt Lake, and the team on the field was doing very well, and we wound up really capturing the attention of that town. And the sponsors, Rio Tinto Stadium, it's now known as America First Field, but Rio Tinto Stadium was brand new. It was a beautiful stadium, amazing views. In that market, you have the Utah Jazz of the top pro team, and then you have University of Utah and BYU football. But other than that, there wasn't much competition. And so Real Salt Lake was really able to get a good niche in the market. And we had a good front office. Guy that used to work for me, John Kimball, is back as the team president there. And we had a good group, and we wound up really driving, ticket sales, selling out nearly, after I was there a few years, we sold out every game for a couple of years in a row. And Our sponsorships got up to a real good number, and a lot of people would comment that we punched above our weight, which I always took as a big compliment.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Eastern Conference champions in 2009, Real Salt Lake MLS Cup champions in 2009, Western Conference champions 2011, U.S. Open Cup runner-up 2013, MLS Cup runner-up 2013, MLS Doug Hamilton Executive of the Year 2012-2014. And then in October 12th of 2015, and to the present time still, you became the president of Toronto FC. What was the transition like from Real Salt Lake to Toronto FC?
Um, it's nothing that I hadn't done before. Moving to different markets. This is a different country here in Canada, and there are some subtle differences, not much from the U.S. The opportunity to work for a big organization like MLSE was really appealing. We have an NBA team, NHL team. The CFL team is kind of under my umbrella. All the live events that we have, so that was really appealing. From an MLS standpoint, this is a bigger club, and we were in a similar situation to when I first arrived at Real Salt Lake, and we were able to build a champion here and have a really good 5-year run. And now we're kind of going through another cycle of a bit of a rebuild as we build back up for another championship run here. And so it's been really gratifying, been a good move in my career. Really enjoy it here in Toronto. I work for some great people here. And so it was, like anything, every market is different. But you take kind of what you've learned from the past and best practices, and you come into a new market, you need to learn that market, and then, be true to yourself and how you think it's best to, build a champion, which is what we all want to do at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And then you obviously became the president of Toronto Argonauts in 2018, and still to the present time. Did you feel that you needed just a new challenge and wanted to experience what that was like as well?
No. I was asked to take over the Argos. MLSE purchased the Argos at the end of 2017, and our chairman Larry Tannenbaum knew that I had worked in the NFL for 4 years and had a lot of experience there, and so he asked if I would take on the Argos as well. We share BMO Field, so there's a lot of there's a lot of factors that it makes sense, from a scheduling standpoint. We share some staff, so we're able to find some efficiencies there. It was something that made a lot of sense at the time, and we've created a good relationship between the two clubs as well. So there's a lot of respect on both sides.
Mm-hmm. And so bringing it back down to the topic of BMO Field and Toronto FC, obviously Eastern Conference champions 2016, 2017, 2019, Supporter Shield champions in 2017, Canadian championships in 2016, 2017, 2018, CONCACAF runner-up in 2018. What do you remember about those good times? Because those were like the really, really fun times where the crowd is into it, and everyone is just so excited because now there's a level of championship mentality in this club. And we'll get into Lorenzo, Insigne, and everything else, and the more exciting times ahead. But what do you remember about those times?
Oh, it's just again, it was really exciting. It was very fulfilling to come into a club and be able to help guide it to those championships and those trophies. It was exciting for our fan base who had gone through, a number of years without a lot of success. I think during that time, Toronto FC really carved out a place for itself in this market, a big market in the GTA. Toronto FC is definitely, part of the sports landscape here now. And it was a lot of fun, and, winning is fun, and but it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of, you need a lot of things to go your way. And so we had, like I said, we had a really good 5-year run. And now we're kind of going through a cycle where we're rebuilding back up for hopefully another good 5-6 year run. Especially, we went through that tough time where we didn't have our fans for a couple of years. And even at the end of last year, we were only able to have a certain amount of fans back in the building. And this year getting kind of full, especially from July on where we sold out every game. It was really exciting to see our fans back and in full force, and what that meant for our club and what it means actually going into next season, where there's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of motivation to really kick off the season well next year with a full house and full fan base.
Mm-hmm. And so let's get into the fun parts of this interview, which is obviously talking about Domenico Crescido, the signings of Lorenzo Insigne as well, Bernardeschi. But more importantly, it's around Lorenzo Insigne. How did that deal come together?
Well, it was. I think it's pretty well chronicled now. We all saw the success of the European champions in July of 2021, and this town has a large population of Italian Canadians, and you could feel the excitement and the energy around that championship. And we were struggling at TFC at the time, and I just started dreaming a bit of what it would be like to add some full Italian internationals to our roster and our club going forward. And the large population here in the GTA, Italian Canadians, and get guys that are in their prime, that are members of that championship winning team. And I looked to see who was coming out of contract. Lorenzo was the top name, and I made a phone call to an old friend and asked what he thought, and he knew Lorenzo's agent, and just kind of started from there. And it was he called me back an hour later and told me it was destiny. And we worked really hard over the next few months to get to know his agent and his people. And then in January, we were able to sign a pre-contract with Lorenzo, which was a really, really big, time, not only for TFC, but for MLS, to bring someone of his caliber in the prime of his career off a European championship. That was became pretty big news.
Yeah, obviously, and there's no doubt that it became big news around the soccer world, obviously with Fabrizio Romano being a huge part of that. And also, I believe it was Andrea D'Amico was the one who gave you the call, wasn't it?
No, I called Andrea. Andrea is a good friend.
Yeah.
He used to represent Sebastian Javenko, and he helped us with all these signings. He worked as our intermediary for the club and was a big part of the acquisition, of Lorenzo and Fede, and then Nemo as well. And so he's someone that I've kept a good relationship with all these years, and he's obviously very well respected in Italy, and was a big part of this.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching the Il Magnifico video on YouTube, and it was taking you a walkthrough of how the deal came together. And I remember the moment when you said you're like, well, Andrea called me back and said, Bill, it's destiny.
Yeah.
And then he basically said, we can do it.
Yeah.
And then Fabrizio was like, I was surprised because this is Lorenzo going to Toronto. It was perfect. It was a match made in heaven for
Yeah.
Lorenzo, not in like 37, 38, right in the prime of his career. How hard is it to get someone like that right in the smack dab of his better years?
Yeah, look, I knew it was going to be hard. We had to, we had to convince him not only from a compensation standpoint, a lifestyle standpoint, also a competitive standpoint, that this was going to be the right move for him in his career. He was 30 at the time, turned 31 this summer, still in the prime of his career. And he was ready. He'd been with Napoli his whole career outside of a few loans early in his career, and he was ready. for a change. And it was a big moment because, he had a lot of other opportunities, some in Italy, some in the Premier League. And it was, we definitely had to sell him and convince him to join us. But I also think timing being what it was, just everything came together that we became the right club, the right market for him to join us.
Mm-hmm. And so, as we talk about the fun times and the exciting times, but obviously Toronto FC has hit a little bit of a rock bottom feeling right now because not making the postseason, and obviously having a tough go at it this year. Um, I mean, there's a lot of adversity this year, obviously, and I think you're very clear on that. Um, but where do you look at this club, and where could it be heading in the future?
Look, I think we are in the middle of a rebuild that started at the beginning of last season. 2021 was a very difficult year, both on and off the field for our club in the middle of the pandemic. And this season, we needed to clear out the roster. We had a lot of young players that we brought up from our academy, many for the first time playing in MLS. We knew that we were going to bring in then some more experienced players with national team experience during the summer, which we did with Lorenzo and Fede and Mimo and Mark Anthony Kay, Richie Laria. And this offseason is going to be critical for us, very similar to 2015 when we went into the 2016 season, where we added Drew Moore and Stephen Beitashour, Clint Irwin, Will Johnson, important pickups for us that became, especially Stephen and Drew became a key part of those championship teams. And so, we're looking to be smart, and we're looking to really upgrade the roster so that Bob and his staff going into next season, have a better nucleus of players and guys from the beginning of the season that he can work with them, get them fit, but also get them understanding the style of play that we want to play. And so we are motivated and determined to get back to being a winning club again. It's something that both Bob and I have had a lot of success in our careers, but it's not easy. And you need the right players around you. You need the right coaches. You need the right medical staff. You need the right, trainers, down the line. Not just one person can do it. You need a team. And so we're excited about what lies ahead, but we know that it's, we got a lot of work in front of us.
Mm-hmm. And I remember I went with my brother to the Montreal game. It was in the later part of the season. It was at BMO Field, and we needed to win in order to give ourselves a chance in the postseason. And obviously that just didn't happen, unfortunately. Obviously up to nothing early, and then all of a sudden it came crashing down, and it became 4-2, and that's how it ended. Right. And it's as a fan, you never like to see that happen, especially when you're at your home field and in front of the fan base and trying to win a big game. But as you were saying, there needs to be moves made, and I think there are definitely going to be made. So that brings us into the signings and departures, obviously with Bono and Westberg not being given their options. Do you think that they will return to the club, or is it more like transitioning now to goalkeepers like Ranjit Singh and other goalkeepers that could be out on the market?
Oh, I think Alex and Quentin will go through free agency, and I imagine there'll be some opportunities for them. We're looking to have a bit of a clean slate with our goalkeepers in terms of a number one. And so, we're going to look within the league and also outside the league to have a kind of a clear number one that can be a dominant keeper for us over the next few years. And so important position. Both Quentin and Alex have handled themselves so well and are such professionals and good people. And I imagine they'll wind up with a club and we wish both of them well. Two quality guys.
Mm-hmm. And I think before we wrap up, I want to ask you about, is there a chance where we could see a player like Gareth Bale enter Toronto FC? I'm not trying to speculate anything. I'm just saying I'm putting it out there. Is there a chance that we could see Gareth Bale soon enough where he will play for Toronto FC?
I mean, he's under contract to LAFC, so it would have to obviously be even any type of consideration after he was no longer under contract. So he is, a key signing for LAFC. They're in the finals this weekend. So, that I can't really answer that question.
Okay. So let me wrap up by asking, what's your number one advice to executives and athletes aspiring?
Look, I think it's important to have goals and, every day do something towards those goals. And then for aspiring, executives and so on, it's important to network and to knock on doors and to, reach out to people who maybe can help. I have so many people that helped me along the way in my own career, and it's why I do think it's important for executives like myself to help out like young men like you who do podcasts and enjoy the sports industry. A lot of people do want to help. And so the key, though, is you got to knock on the doors and you got to ask sometimes for help and reach out to people and expand your network. So that would be my advice for those aspiring to get into the industry.
Mm-hmm. Well, our time has come to an end, but Bill, is an insightful conversation. I enjoyed chatting with you. Congratulations on the success of the TFC and the Argos are having. I look forward to catching more TFC games in the near future. To the listeners who made it this far into the episode, thanks so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with President of Toronto FC and Toronto Argonauts, Bill Manning. You can connect with him through his LinkedIn username, Bill Manning. For more info, visit argonauts.ca or torontofc.ca. If you'd like to help spread the word about my podcast, please do feel free to share it with others. Post about it on social media. Any form of support is greatly appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at the JIGME KELSANG Show, Twitter at the JIGME K Show, TikTok at the JIGME KELSANG Show, and on YouTube, the JIGME KELSANG Show. Lastly, you can also find my show on all podcast streaming platforms just by typing in the JIGME KELSANG Show. I've been your host, JIGME KELSANG. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Thank you.